and welcome. I am Piers Ridyard, CEO of RDXWorks, a core developer of the decentralized finance protocol Radix, a public ledger entirely focused on bringing DeFi to the mainstream. Today, we have a round table for you with Russell, Matt, and Adam. And it is the final round table before the launching of Babylon. Babylon is when the current running network gets upgraded to include our smart contracts, our Radix wallet, and all of the magic of the Radix engine and everything that's coming with the ecosystem. So we thought we'd do a little quick roundup of what we're excited about, what's coming, and get a chance to say hi to all of you good folks before we see you on the other side of Babylon, happy with a Radix wallet in your hand, interacting with all of the stuff that's coming on the Radix ecosystem. So to kick it off, I'm going to hand you over to Russell.
The honor of the first, what am I most excited about bit, huh?
Yeah.
It's that people can finally use all the stuff that we've been talking about for literally years at this point. And it'll hit so much harder for people when they see, hey, check out the full stack for DeFi. And it's not just go read this blog or watch this YouTube video. No, go download the wallet and try it and get the completely different user experience. And then for the devs, of course, it's come in and start building, and you'll find that you have the smoothest onboarding in all of crypto. And of course, the best dev community to help you when you get stuck. So
yeah, which has been doing fantastic recently, right? Like just the degree of support that's been happening in the channels and stuff like that has been second to none.
Yeah, and people are getting into that. They're preparing to release, and you can feel there's like a nice, good energy in there. It's humming in there as everybody gets everything buttoned down for last testing when StokeNet's going to go out. By the time this video comes out, StokeNet will be out, so they'll be doing last testing on there. Yeah, this is a cool time. It's hard to believe we're finally here at the beginning of Babylon after all this time, but everybody's pretty fired up.
Matt, how about yourself? What are you most excited about?
Yeah, it's finally real. I mean, everything we've been doing, for those who've been following Radix for a long time, you've seen that we had the Alexandria release, which was like this, hey, here's a whole new way of developing smart contracts that we think is really important, and let's get your feedback on it. Let's start refining it. And we ran that for a long period of time. We've had all these things that have been sort of like waiting in the wings and getting feedback and getting better and getting involved with the community and getting people excited about it. But it's like, this is now the point where all this stuff is the beginning where it's real, like it's actually on the network and people can start making use of it. And I kind of mentioned this in the other video we did, that like, I think one of the things that's so exciting about it to me is the fact that it is just the beginning. It's the fact that it's like, we've got this refined Scripto and Radix engine experience that we've gotten through, but it's not the end. Like there's still so much stuff with Scripto we still want to put up there. And we've been doing a lot of work about like, what is the essential element of making a better user experience and making sure those stuff is going to be present on the network. But it's like, there's still this long roadmap of wallet stuff that we can still do. It's not going to be this like, okay, launch the network and then we just kind of sit back and hope it goes well. Like there's still a lot of really great stuff to be done. And it means that things are going to continue to get better and better. But nonetheless, it's still a moment of everything getting real. It's still a moment of people, like Russ says, people actually can get the wallet, start playing around with it, and developers can, it's not just be like, okay, I'm going to start building this thing. And I think this is going to be cool. You can actually put it on a running network. You can actually interact with real assets. Like it's weird how much different it feels when you go from the same code here in testnet to that code running on a network that's actually interacting with stuff that matters to people. So it's been many, many years in the building to this point. And to me, it's kind of like this, this summing up point of everything that's come before, but it's the big bang moment of everything that comes after. So it's really huge. It's cool.
How about yourself, Adam?
So, a little controversial, but it's the fact that the technology is going to so quickly become the secondary part of the conversation. So everything up until now, it's explaining why all of these things work the way they do, why they're being designed the way they're being designed. And very quickly it will just become, well, of course you did that. So the analogy that I always think to myself is anyone who's a gamer or something like that may or may not know that standard like shooter game and 2 analog sticks was originally done in Halo. But now every single shooting game does that. And anyone who tries to do anything different from that control map, you're just like, why? But you also think back, like, when do they start doing it? It's always been like that. Because of course, and you don't think about, oh, that's a really good way of doing that control mechanism. You're just like, well, yeah, of course you would. That just works. It's really enjoyable to use. It makes sense. And then you start calling about the cool things that are built with that, the actual games. So in our case, the dApps coming out, what you're actually doing on the network, what you're interacting with, and use cases and examples that we're already seeing come out of the ecosystem are things that you don't naturally think of. There's some really cool things being built where you're like, hey, maybe that's going to be something really incredible. That's going to be something that everyone's talking about. It could also be like, hey, that's just the spark of innovation that makes the next thing that really becomes a big bang. And what's exciting for me is that those things can happen at any moment. And up until this point, it's like, oh, we're waiting for this starting line, this starting done to happen, but now the race is actually on.
Yeah, 100%. I'd also like to say like a quick ode to the Olympia network. The Olympia network, like I do want to recognize how much of an engineering accomplishment that was in getting it out. And even though it was a relatively limited network, how much stuff people already engaged with, like almost 200,000 wallets now, over like 2.5 million transactions. There's been no like sort of safety breaks or liveness breaks. Network's been up and running over that entire period. There's been a bunch of upgrades. We have had such an incredible Node Runner community that has emerged. I just want to give a huge shout out to the Node Runner community. You guys have been doing such incredible work, supporting each other, doing everything that sort of is required in terms of a lean in to making sure our network is running smoothly and effectively. And sort of seeing everyone on that side of things, like really engaging with the testing of the transition of the network from Olympia to Babylon on our test networks. And now that finally happening with the sort of the network going live with Babylon next week, like that has been so rewarding. And the same with the Scripto community. Like we really did build Scripto with you guys, with the people who are helping us, who are building on top of it. Like we've done more updates to Scripto than I can count. And those updates have every single one has sort of like added these extra aspects of user friendliness and security and all this kind of stuff that we've got like great feedback from, that we've been able to go through these sort of like critical path changes on stuff before the network goes live. And that opportunity, that like that sort of in some ways that more careful way of doing things, it rather than just going live with the programming language on the network at day one and not having people try and build things before, I think stands us in such great stead. That's why I just have so much like satisfaction and pride in the code that has been built for Babylon, because it's actually come from really running networks, really like getting people to build stuff with it, with a really engaged community. And you really can't ask for better when you're trying to build a great product. Like great products come as a result of that iteration, learn, develop, feedback loop that you get with your customers, with the people that you're trying to build things for. And that has just been second to none. And I think it's one of those things that are like qualitative. You can't really list it in a document that specifies the specifications. It's sort of like in many ways, it's what is going to make, for me, that I'm most excited about for Babylon, is going to make Babylon great. And it's one of the things that, people like Apple often get castigated for when Apple came out with its phone. I remember that when the first iPhone came out, people would be like, it's got a worse processor, it's got less memory, it's like, it's dead on arrival, it's $1,000, who's going to buy this thing? And then people just started using it. And when they were using it, they were like, yeah, but like, all those specs don't really matter. What matters is at the end of the day, can I reliably and confidently do what I want to do? Do I feel in control? Do I feel like it's not making me feel stupid? And I think that there's so much of that stuff to come with Babylon, with all of the tools that we have available, that just makes me super excited to see what's going to happen in terms of that Cambrian explosion that's possible, in terms of user applications, in terms of business applications, and in terms of like innovation that can occur once you've got that base. And the ecosystem is already engaging strongly with that. We've got a really good number of really solid dApps, really solid teams that are coming to the network. And like, it is coming from a base that, you can't just copy the EVM and bring it across. So, the team, there's still going to be some scrappiness. There's still going to be some finding things out. There's still going to be like those kind of things that happen. But the passion the community has and what people are building already just has me so excited. So I think let's go on to like what's actually going to happen. So Russ, if you just walk us through what's happening over the next sort of couple of weeks and what people should expect.
Well, I think by the time that this gets through video editing, what's going to happen is the switchover. to start
Yep.
with that. I think we'll be past everything but that. In fact, they better edit quickly to make it out before the switch over. So hopefully you're watching this before this happened, and I'm not talking about the past, which is presuming we get 79% of validators to signal that they are ready for the end of Olympia, which I'm sure we will. We've been in conversations with all of them. And also special thanks to Faraz, who has been very diligently communicating with everyone and sort of just keeping us updated. And greatly appreciated Faraz. Assuming that we have that 79% stake on Olympia's last epoch, all the node runners are going to automatically say, Olympia is now finished. I am no longer going to listen to people who are going to try to propose new transactions or new rounds and things like that. And all I'm doing is I'm going to calculate what was the final network state at that last epoch. What tokens were held where and what controlled them. And this process takes a few minutes. They basically calculate just this giant binary blob that says, here's the end state of Olympia. And this is what's used for the genesis, the first transaction of Babylon, the first state that gets everything going there. And the same validator community will have their Babylon nodes already switched on at this point. And what they're doing is they're pinging automatically an Olympia node they know about, saying, hey, are you done? Hey, are you done? Hey, are you done? And once the end state is calculated, the Olympia node says, yes, I am done. And by the way, here's the state you need to get going with Babylon. And then the Babylon node then takes that payload and starts ingesting that so that we can get the proper starting state for Babylon. Once that completes, it says, hey, I'm up and open for business. I'm trying to start consensus on Babylon. And it sits there waiting to achieve that 66.6% repeating stake so that it knows we can actually proceed with Babylon. So once we have that 2/3 of network stake has completed the ingestion process, then Babylon starts running. And then the epochs continue on Babylon running the new protocol model. And obviously, due to your specs and stuff like that on your validators, some will process a bit more quickly than others. So the first few rounds of Babylon might have low validator participation, but eventually everybody will get over that gap. And then all that's left is Babylon's running at that point, but all of our services depend upon the network gateway to be working. So as soon as Babylon is running, the gateway will be spun up, and that will do its ingestion, and then it'll be open for business as soon as it catches up with the network. And then we have this process of now we roll out all the tooling. So the first big one, of course, is that we're going to take our Android and iOS wallets, which will then sitting in their stores, pre-approved, waiting for us to hit the go live button. We'll hit that button and they will start rolling out to the various regions. It is completely expected, having done this a few times on other applications, that some regions will get it first. Somebody in Germany will go, hey, I'm able to get it. And then people in the US are hammering refresh on their store and saying they don't see it yet. This is totally expected. Officially, this propagation they claim it can take up to 24 hours. I've never seen it take more than 2 or 3 hours, but on the day in question, hopefully it won't be like GitHub Actions always chooses to go down on the day we're doing a release. Hopefully the Google Play and the App Store won't choose that day to have a bad day. So the wallets get released to people, and also at the same time, the necessary browser extensions that you can connect your mobile phone to your browser. That will go live in the Chrome Web Store as well. And then we deploy things like the Radix dashboard. There's some applications for you to play with as well that are going to deploy and get those components on Ledger and get their website spun up and all that. And at that point, everything's ready to go for people to start using it. There's a very quick and easy process to migrate you had the Radix Olympia wallet, and you want to say, hey, I want to get all my accounts over to my mobile wallet. Matt is going to have a video released before the switchover that shows how this is done, but it is super, super, super simple. Really, what happens is you get a new Olympia wallet, which you can use the in-app update to get, or you can download it from wallet.radixdlt.com. And it will be aware that Olympia is done. And then basically the options are, hey, you ready to export? And then you click the accounts you want to export. It gets all of them. Maybe there's ones like, I don't even care about that one. I never used it. I don't want to see it anymore. This includes ones if you had a ledger device, a hardware device, and you wanted to get those accounts visible in your new wallet as well. And then from that, it pops up a QR code, and then you go through kind of like a little easy flow on your device. And the only part that is anything besides just scan and tap is on the new mobile wallet, you're going to type in your seed phrase again. And so I think Jacob just said in channel today that I liked, it's like the air gapped part of this process is your brain here on moving that seed phrase across. That does not go across the wire in any way, shape, or form. It's not embedded in the QR code. I'm sure we'll get questions about that anyway, but that is why we have you type it in. And then you're up and running on the Babylon wallet, and we have some good onboarding flows for you to go get your feet wet, regardless of what other applications are available on day one. We will have one so that you can see what the wallet is all about and get to grips with some of the basics of how you approve and review transactions. That's the user side of things. The integrator side of things, like exchanges, we have an overwhelmingly green status board on exchanges, not only saying they're integrated, but when we ask the hard questions to find out, are you really integrated or do you think you're integrated? You have to answer the ones where they really have proven that they are integrated in order to get to the green status on our board. And it is overwhelmingly green already as far as whether they are intending to do it day one or wait 12 hours of testing. That varies from exchange to exchange and integration to integration. But a quick shout out to Ben, who's been sort of hammering the exchanges for a very long time now. He's done a sort of huge amount of work, like getting exchanges to cross over to a new network is hard work, and he's been doing a great job of making sure that that's been well signposted long in advance and getting the teams to engage, and also sort of all of the people within Radix, within RDX Works, who have been helping with the integrations as well. Like the exchanges can be fun beasts to deal with, but we're now at that step where I'm feeling very confident that everything's going to go smoothly. Obviously, there may be some hiccups, but I'm pretty confident in that it's going to go smoothly when the Babylon switchover goes. And the part I like best about it is every single one started with, oh, yeah, network switchover. They kind of underestimated how different Olympia to Babylon would be. Everybody did this. And then they're sort of pushing you off. And when they finally engage, you can feel that moment where they go, oh my God, this is totally different. What do you mean there isn't a sender and a recipient and all that kind of stuff, right? And you can kind of feel the panic coming in over the wire from them. But then once they get over that and engage with it, usually within, it's just a day or two, it's like, that was really easy. But then what I like best is that multiple of the people who did the integration got interested while they were doing it and then did a deep dive and had the Radix revelation. And they're like, I'm going to go build something on this. This is really cool. And this wallet is so great and all that. So by getting the exchanges and the other integrators to complete, we wound up creating some converts and zealots who will hopefully now go release stuff on the network. And it's just a nice, you're working on a thing so long. Yeah, is this actually approachable? Does it make sense to people? I know it makes sense to us who've been thinking about it so long. And it's really nice to get that validation from people who integrate many, many networks to go, this is actually really cool. And I'm going to go do stuff outside of work on this.
Yeah, we had a similar thing with the auditor that we're working with as well, right? Like when they were going through, they were
absolutely had their Radix revelation. Yes, completely. This is I'm sure we're going to, when this completes and we publish the results and everything, we'll get some of those stories. And but yeah, it's been nothing but from anybody who takes their time to understand the stack. The feedback is all like, this is a game changer. This is a landmark moment.
Yeah, I mean, huge salute to Russ and Matt for their sort of, critical and core work to making sure all of that is true. So yeah, you guys deserve every single plaudit that comes with the network going live. Matt, how can people think about what's happening on the wallet side of things? So what kind-
Yeah, so the wallet is going to be a very exciting V1.0 wallet. So it's a quite different thing. If you're familiar with crypto wallets anywhere else, it is a very different thing, because it really needs to be. I mean, this is something that, like, the last two conferences I've gone to, it was just nothing but people talking about how terrible the user experience is in crypto and how all this stuff is broken, and maybe account abstraction is going to save us, and then actually account abstraction is really kind of hokey to use and it's not really working yet. So, like, no one really has the right solution to this yet, and so we believe that we've really gone all the way down to figure out what's behind the problems, what's really causing these user experience problems, and then worked our way from back up from there to figure out, like, what does the network need to do to enable better user experience, and then on top of that, what wallet do we build on top of those network features to start making that possible. So, the 1.0 release of the wallet, there were some very difficult decisions to make, because we're looking at this, it's like, my God, like, once you get that, it's like Scripto and Radix engine. It's like this laws of physics sort of thing. Like, once we worked out how a wallet should behave generally, then it was like, oh my God, like, there's so much stuff we can do with this. There's a million directions we can go with what the wallet could interact with and what you could do and so forth. But you have to start with the 1.0. You can't, if you get constantly caught up in this, you'll just never actually get anything done. And so, with finite time, we had to do that. So, with the network features in place, and that was a really big priority, we had to make sure that when Babylon goes live, all of the network enabling features were there. So smart accounts and the ability of doing multi-factor control, having identities on the network that you can use to prove that you can use as a login, having assets that have defined behaviors that a wallet can understand, and metadata that it can show. All those things had to be there. And so, we've done that, which is very satisfying. But then on top of the wallet that we actually build, the first version of that wallet, what we want to do was to have it be in a form that would give developers the most essential features that they needed to be able to deploy the first version of their applications. And then we also wanted to have, like, the first essential elements of the better user experience for the users that are coming in. Definitely not the endpoint, but we wanted to have, like, the most important essentials there. And so that's what we're going to have. For developers, it has the ability of nicely connecting to a DApp. Like, it's a way of using a mobile DApp with an application that's not just MetaMask running in a web browser and kind of doing this thing. It's like, it's actually using our Radix Connect scheme, where you can link your phone to a desktop web browser. We chose to do that desktop web browser implementation first, because when we ask people, that's how most of DeFi gets done today. So we wanted to make sure that was working really well. So that meant we had to do really work out that link between the phone and your desktop browser, make sure that was working really well. So we put a lot of work into making sure that was smooth. That's working really nicely. Making sure that an application can make the kinds of requests to the wallet that it wants. It's not just limited to, like, MetaMask, where it's like, hey, give me your account address, and that's all I know about you. You can actually get a real persona-based login from the phone, and you can do an on-ledger verification of that to do a proper login. We provide the tools to be able to do that very easily with Radix DApp Toolkit. We wanted to make sure that you could ask for multiple accounts, because we think, users often are going to want to spread their assets among multiple accounts. So making sure that all those interfaces were in place so you can ask for these things from the wallet. Persona data as well, like the very first elements of being able to ask for data from the wallet, but there's a lot more to be done there. And then on the user side, there were, like, a few things that we flagged that we really needed to get in there so that users would get that breakthrough experience of using a wallet on Radix Network. One of them is just assets, and it's easy to forget this one because it seems so obvious. Like, we've been focused on assets being first for so long that it's easy to forget how much cooler this is. But as we've been showing the wallet to people that are kind of outside the Radix ecosystem, it's like really simple things where it's like, wow, I got this NFT, and, like, I can actually see there's, like, an animated GIF that I can see right there in my wallet on the thing. That's amazing. Yeah. We're going, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it work that way? We're like, oh yeah, that's actually different. Like, you don't have to add the NFT. You don't have to, like, add the address before the wallet recognizes it, and you don't have to, like, go to a website to look this stuff up because it's actually metadata on the asset. So just having that is really cool. You're going to see assets split into different categories in the wallet. You're going to see your tokens, your NFTs. We've also got the notion of pool units. For people that are building simple liquidity pools. We're going to expand that capability with time. So you're actually going to be able to, like, see your assets in the wallet and have them be organized nicely and have them feel kind of tangible and real. So that's a really big one. Transaction review is a really, really big one that we had to get in there. We wanted to be able to show people you don't have to be the crypto doesn't mean that you have to blind sign anything that's more than just sending a token around. And so the transaction manifest and the ability of the wallet to be able to read a transaction manifest and show you the actual result of transactions was something that we absolutely had to get in. It's in the first form. So what, we focused on kind of the general case of most smart contract interactions are sort of like tokens that come out of my account, tokens interact with a dApp, tokens that come back to my account, and am I presenting any badges? We've got a nice way of showing all those transactions, which kind of covers like the 90% case of most DeFi applications. We're going to expand that capability of time. Like there's still going to, you're going to see in the V1.0 wallet that's like some transactions are still going to not look great. You're going to see like a raw transaction manifest rather than a nice summary. You're still going to see the raw transaction manifest, which is a whole lot better than signing a blind hash because it'll actually describe, here's what you're doing. But over time, we're going to expand this so we can continue to really nicely summarize for users what's going on in the most accessible way possible. Another one is the third-party deposit feature. We really wanted to make sure that people could halt. Like it seems like such a silly thing, but
I love it. It's so good.
It actually is really important. Like
people like when people realize you can do it, they go crazy. They're like, oh, because spam on networks is so common.
Right. And it's one of those things that I think every network
like
accepts as just take it for granted. It's like, well, yeah, but tokens are ERC20 contracts. And so anybody can assign tokens to any address. And so, yep, I guess you can just have spam. I guess there's no avoiding this. No, it's not true. If you actually formulate accounts to be a thing that you are in control of, we can just put rules in there. And so you have the ability of specifying rules in your own account on Ledger. This isn't a wallet thing. It's like the wallet is providing the user interface to set this on your account on Ledger to say, these are the tokens that I do and don't want to accept from third parties when I'm not actually signing the transaction. So this was another huge
I had someone explain it perfectly. It's like it's like spam mail, but on your bank statement currently.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, you can get rid of that by an option.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's in some ways it's crazy that wasn't always the case, but that's how it is for so much of the stuff we're doing. It's like, why wasn't it always like this? Well, because no one really went all the way.
So many of my friends who've like been in the space for a long time, like have this constant conversation with their accountants when they're like, they'll do a statement of their wallets and the accountant will be like, oh, what are these? And they're like,
is it worth anything? I also don't know that. Maybe it will be in the future. Maybe it is already. I don't know. I'm not going to go to the trouble.
Yeah.
On the wallet bit, I just wanted to. I think we've showed it to a lot of people who are already in crypto, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! The way it works, the way it beams back and forth, and I can see what I'm signing." That was always going to get that reaction, right? We built it to get that reaction completely. The one I like better is when we show it to people who are not in crypto. My friend was the perfect example of this. He's been interested in it for a while. He's got like a Coinbase account where he does, he buys that. He never has used his own wallet or anything like that. And I was showing him a demo of one of the example apps, and we wound up using one of the ones that we'll show on Babylon Day. I guess I don't want to spoil the surprise right now. But anyway, we get to the end of it, and we've done this. Basically, tokens have been transferred. And he goes, okay, well, when do we do the blockchain stuff? And at first, it was kind of like, no, that was it. But I realized that was the best possible reaction he could have, which is, to him, it was like, so yeah, I was using a phone app, and the phone app did everything that I said, and it was good. Like, to him, it was just like using Zelle or Venmo or something like that to do stuff where it goes, he didn't, where was the stuff where you're supposed to see this weird string because he's seen videos of MetaMask and stuff like that. And it was a good point of confidence of, no, this really is going to be the way to break it into the mainstream, where people just think of it as, I just install this thing from the App Store and it magically works with the website. And I don't know about this blockchain stuff. And particularly once we have all the UI for the recovery and all that done in the wallet, then it truly will be, you don't even think about anything like this seed phrase stuff. You just install it from that, follow the little flow to get your stuff recoverable. And blockchain can be something that you're aware there's a crypto thing or a distributed ledger somewhere, but I don't know. It's just working. I just use the app, and it's all just like anything else from the store. And that will be the thing that actually grows the pie, that reaches that next set of people who are never going to engage with the very clever tech demo that crypto is prior to Babylon.
Right. Because majority, like, is the ratio of people on exchanges versus using networks directly is something like 100 to 1 or maybe even higher. And so, you just need to reverse the pyramid. Now, otherwise, it's all just, as you say, Russ, it's a tech demo. It's AOL online. It's not the internet. Just to round us out, Adam, what are we expecting on sort of ecosystem and all of that good stuff?
So the really exciting thing is obviously we've got the Babylon Booster campaign that already has identified a bunch of projects who have got MVPs planned to be coming out in the period of the following weeks, post-Babylon upgrade completing. But even outside of that, there's so many more projects that have been coming out of the woodwork, especially in the last few months, as it's like, Babylon's happening. This is about to come out now going, hey, I'm actually building this thing. And you see that in the interactions that are happening within like the dev ecosystem channels, in Discord, even just organically online. And that was noticeable all the way back from when we were interviewing for the Babylon Booster program. Right. There were people who came in there where we were like, hey, we think we knew a lot of the people who were going to kind of apply and what they were doing. And we got ones we'd never heard of just being like, hey, we've been like, we never heard of this thing. I bet they didn't really have anything. And then they came and gave us a demo, which is part of the interview process. Right. I'm like, wait, you've actually got a working demo on this? And like, you're doing something. Like, oh yeah. And it's like, but you haven't said anything. They're like, no, I'm just building, like I'm just getting ready for Babylon. And that's just accelerating. And the exciting bit about all of this is you get this kind of very quick scenario where things can happen before you realize they're starting to grow rapidly, because you only have so much attention span as anyone. And so you don't know what's being sparked by a DEX going live. Make someone else go, hey, well, those two DEXs do something here. I could build something that plugs into both of those and uses an oracle, or come up with a whole new thing that no one has thought of yet and actually go and implement it. And they may not say anything until it goes live. And you won't realize it's a big thing until you look back into the history books and go, oh, well, that was the moment this incredible thing happened. And who knew how big it would have been at that moment? Like, go back to the start of any big Web 2 kind of things. Look at when people were getting excited about Twitter originally. There were so many people being like, that's really dumb. Or anything like why would anyone want 140 characters to say something? And you then look back and go, oh, that was the first tweet. And I mean, Jack Dorsey sold his first tweet as an NFT, because it was a moment. But at that point, if you'd said, hey, do you want to buy the first tweet ever? People would have been like, no. But you didn't realize it was going to be a really big thing then. Admittedly, today, probably a lot of people also go, do you want to buy the first tweet as an NFT? And go, no. But that's the thing, is that we're going to be going through this period in the weeks and months that follow the Babylon release of every day waking up being like, I wonder what cool shit happened while I was asleep. And some of that may not be big fanfares. It may not seem like something massive, but they're things which in the many, many biographies that I'm sure will be written in decades gone will be the things you're like, oh yeah, I remember waking up and seeing that and going, that was neat. Never did I think it was going to be this incredible thing years later, or how it would spark this or that or whatever else. And that magical growth of a platform and an ecosystem is something that very rarely happens. I think everyone building that as projects, as users interacting with that, being part of the community, you only get one chance to be early on something like that. And everyone who I've ever known who's done that in other platforms or other places have such great experiences doing it, just because of how incredibly enjoyable it is seeing these things form, including some of their rough edges that will get smoothed out. And I think we're just very lucky to have such an incredible community, both on the user side and developer side, starting that journey with the Babylon upgrade.
Yeah. And I think that it makes me think of the early days of Ethereum as well, when when I first got started with in the Ethereum community right at the start, everyone was just having fun. Everyone was just playing around with things. Like, people were doing stupid things like ways in which you could all agree to go and book a table together. And if someone reneged on turning up, then you would check in, and then those who didn't check in would get penalized and end up paying for dinner, and just stupid things like that. It's this great time of playing around as well as trying serious stuff, but it's also fun. So much innovation comes from just messing around with stuff. So I encourage everyone to go and play with Radix, not because they're going, oh, I'm gonna I'm just going to try and make so much money here. It's just like, no, just go and explore, have fun, understand what the opportunity of the Radix ecosystem is. Go and engage with projects, go and do stupid things like try building your own crypto dApp and putting it live for something. Like, do all of this stuff, because that's the fun times. That's when you make friends that are lifelong, and that's when you actually start understanding what the opportunity is and what you're actually going to do in the long term. So I'm gonna close it out at that and just say thank you so much to Adam, to Russell, to Matt, and to all of you guys, all of the builders, all of the node runners, all of the Radix community, and everyone watching. Thank you so much, and enjoy Babylon.